Which one's that, Alan?
That's called Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet.
Put on your old gray bonnet. That's
with the blue ribbons on it.
Yeah.
And we'll hitch old Dobbin to the sleigh.
Man, I need to learn that one a little.
It's a beautiful old tune.
Old tune. Well, welcome to the General Store,
Oh,
Alan.
thank you.
And I'm glad you're here to do another lesson with me. We've done many over the years. And when we were talking about the subject for this lesson, you came up with an idea that I knew that people were going to love. We're just going to call it Working Man's Music Theory. How about that? You also described it as non-music theory. And it's, if I could encapsulate it, I would say it's a way to get really cool sounds out of your banjo that sound like you know what you're doing without having to know all the intricacies of doing it.
Right. And what it does is it allows you to use your ear more to determine what you want to do rather than thinking about music in terms of intervals and then flatted ninths and sharp nines and augmented chords and all those sort of things. Because, in the long run, all those words just describe sounds.
Right.
So we might as well skip the words and go right to the sounds.
Well, I love it. And folks are going to love it out there too. We are going to hit a lot of those fancy sounding filler transition chords. And I think it's a neat way to learn what some of those things are by the back door, by actually doing them first. And then be like, oh yeah, that is augmented. Instead of the other way around. How do I find an augmented chord?
Right.
So, all right. Well, if you're watching here on the website as a Gold Peak member, I'm honored to have you on board. You can see this full big old lesson with me and Alan Munde. If you're watching somewhere else, I'd love to have you on board the site. You just go to banjobenclark.com, join as a Gold Peak member, and have access to now over 800 lessons. Man, isn't that something?
It's incredible.
All right, let's dive into the Working Man's Music Theory on the banjo. All right, Alan, so what exactly are you talking about here when you say, non-theory music theory or working man's music theory? There's lots of things that could, I guess, apply to, but you're talking specifically about how to find cool ways to go from chord to chord.
Yes. A lot of music theory and a lot of music is built around moving from one chord to another chord, and you sort of create tension that is resolved by the new chord. And so what I suggest and want to look at is, rather than having a book of 755 chords for the banjo, is to look at it at a simpler level, to where we look at each of the four strings, which is where we do most of the harmony stuff on, as each one is an individual voice.
Yeah, like each one is like a little piano keyboard by itself almost.
Yes, right. So I'm going to demonstrate it. If we wanted to go from this G chord, and we put our fingers down on this C chord, what is something that we can do that will be of interest musically to move us from one place to the other? So if you go with the string thing, there's going to be some things that are obvious. For instance, the third string, which is G, is the same in both chords.
It remains open.
Right. And on the B string, you only have one fret, so there's nothing in between.
You just go there.
You just go. So that leaves the first string, which is the same as the fourth string. So anything that happens on either of those strings can also happen on the opposite string. All right, so if you look, here's the G. Here, I'm going to finger this like this just so we can see it simply. You notice that we're here on this. Well, from here to here, we have this note in between.
That's right.
And you go, whoa, what
we
is
skipped
that?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never explored that. So we're going to play just these three for now. Then I'm going to play this. See how it,
that's nice.
moves. And I hate to do this to people, but there's a well-beaten path. It's just a nice little transition between G to C. And you can use it, in slow songs. Or you can do it in a roll.
interject a
Yes.
question that I imagine some people have right now, especially those that are in the lower intermediate and beginner? They might say, well, but the song doesn't have that chord in it. And the other people that you're playing with, they're not playing that weird chord, whatever it is, which, by the way, it's an augmented chord. It's a sharp
We've
five.
said it.
Oh, we said it. But could you just address that, like your freedom as a banjo player to play chords that nobody else is playing?
Well, once again, what music winds up being a lot of is, let's just say we're on these really strong places, G, C, and D. And let's say it for now, a lot of the interesting music happens in between. And so as long as you're one strong place and you're moving sort of musically, logically to the other strong place, what happens in between sort of gets into the wash. And so as long as you're here and then you're here, it's like taking a step. You know, if you're standing here and you want to stand over there, but you have to step, it's like the step is okay because you're going to wind up standing somewhere else.
Right.
So it resolves.
Right.
And it'll sound interesting and good. Also, you have to be artful about it. You know, you have to use your ear and make decisions about it. Does that sound, I like to use the word satisfying. Does it sound satisfying to me? Does it sound satisfying to my audience and people around me? And sometimes they'll tell you if it interferes with them. But you just have to try it and sort of fool around with it. And, you know, a lot of music, Pete Seeger had a record back in the 50s called the Goofing Off Suite. And it was music that he sort of developed just sitting around the house doing what he called goofing off. And I wanted to go, Pete, why couldn't you call it the Research and Development Suite?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is we're doing research and development. But now people think we're goofing off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I think of it truly as research and development. You're putting your fingers down and experimenting.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to come up with these things.
I have to remember that when someone asks, well, what key do you want to do a song in? And I say, let's do it in R&D. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. So moving up to the 1 to 4 chord by doing that augmented, but we're really not thinking about the theory side of it.
No, we're just exploring what's in between where we are and where we want to go.
I love it.
Yeah. Now, equally, if you're on a C and you want to go back to G, you can travel through that same note, but now you're on C, so you play it as part of a C chord.
So you're leaving your index finger down where it was on the C
because
chord.
we're on C and we want to go to G.
Yeah. And that's technically it's a C to C minor, back to the G, or a 4 form. And you hear that all the time. That's a natural resolve, right? So a lot of times when people are playing something like Amazing Grace and they come to that last line, once was lost, now was blind, but now I see. And then, right.
Absolutely.
So it's a very, very common ending to a song that wants to get drawn out is to go to the 4 minor, resolving to the 1. And you found it organically.
Yes.
Right. Without somebody saying, you should go 4 minor 1.
Right. Without saying, you know, in music, the common way to move from the 4 chord back to the 1 chord is either the 1 sharp diminished or the 1 4 minor, you know, and then you have to sit and sort of analyze what is the 4 chord, what is the minor form of the 4 chord. Well, all you do is it's there. It's right there. Yep. And you just explore it.
That's great.
It's just in between where you are and where you want to go.
So let's let me play a couple bars of G into a couple bars of C, and you work those transitions into rolls, both up to the 4 chord and back down. Right. 1, 2, ready, go. Nice.
So it doesn't, you don't even notice that we're not playing the same exact chord, because it's just a tiny little moment that happens just prior to the change.
Very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can take that up the neck too.
Yeah, and what you do with it, that's the research, and then the development part, or maybe still the research, is you teach yourself what that note is. That's a D to an E. Well, in between is either D sharp or E flat. So you come up to all your G shapes. That's like a bar. Here's this shape, and you find that same note, which is right here. It's on your 2nd string now. And then you could either move your finger up, or ivory finger it like that, and you can see how it just, look how all that just, and a lot of music happens in half steps. So now we're then you come up to your next shape, which is this shape of the G chord, and you find your D note, which now is on the 3rd string. Notice how it moves, and this hits on the 1st string, here it's on the 2nd string, here it's on the 3rd string, and you move that up, it has the same sound, and then back down.
And it works really great with that teardrop bag.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. It's just a sound that becomes a tool. And you, after a while, you develop sort of a sensibility and a taste for it, and you can just feel it coming on.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah. Thinking about the augmented chord. But, when you get up here and you're the same thing, and this is kind of beyond where we want to be right now, but you can add, a 7th chord.
Oh, that's nice.
You could add it to that. So down here, you'd, something like that. If you get it with this 7th, it's a little close.
Right. Point being, if you have some other transitional notes that you like to use in your chords, like a 7, try combining that with some of these notes that we found that are lying in between the 2 chord positions.
Right. And we're going to look at in the next lesson.
Yeah.
We're going to look at how you get to that 7th, without having to think about 7th or flatted. Is it flatted, or is it a regular major 7th, or how do I do this?
Right. Well, let's do some of that then.
All righty.
All right. In the next video, that's what we'll do.